Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to Marotta Media. So it has been for a while now, but it's officially summertime, and that means that we are now slowly returning to those pre-COVID summer blockbuster releases. And one of those summer blockbusters is what I will be going over today, and that was the DC superhero film, The Flash. The Flash is the latest movie to be released in the DC Extended Universe, and I will admit I have not seen every movie in this universe. But I guess this is the one that's supposed to restart everything since James Gunn took over DC. But in The Flash, we follow Barry Allen, played by Ezra Miller, who goes back in time to prevent his mother's death. But when he does this, he realizes that his actions might have some unforeseen consequences. So over the past month or so, I had heard nothing but praise for this movie. But I had heard some people even go as far to say that this is not only the best movie in the DC Extended Universe, but the best DC movie ever made. And I thought, wow, that's really high praise to say something like that. Even though I disagree with a lot of these people most of the time, they don't just go around saying things like that. So I went into this movie with those claims in mind, and now having watched The Flash, I need to know, what fucking movie did those people watch? The Flash is not only the worst superhero movie that I've seen this year and probably will see all year, but this is one of the worst movies of 2023. Here I go again, back on my bullshit of absolutely shitting all over a movie that general audiences seem to love. But I'm sorry, man, I did not like this movie. In fact, I hated it. There's just so much wrong with it, and I find it amazing that people were able to ignore these things and enjoy this. So let's start with the big thing that everyone and their mother has been criticizing: the CGI. Because believe me, I had heard a lot of vitriol towards this movie's CGI, and after watching it, it is more than justified. The CGI in The Flash is just absolutely terrible. It looks like it isn't finished. I'm willing to go as far as to say this is the worst looking CGI that I have ever seen in any movie. There is absolutely no reason that a movie that came out in 2023 with a $200 million budget should look this bad. But for some reason, people who love this movie aren't bothered by this, and some have even said that it looks great, and I don't know what movie they were watching. And on top of that, the director even came out and said that the CGI is supposed to look bad, and that is probably the lamest excuse that I have ever heard in my life. But seriously, man, there are scenes when Barry is running at full speed and the environments around him look like they were rendered by a computer from the early 90s. And the scenes that include both current Barry and past Barry look just as terrible. There are so many movies that have been able to make the gimmick of the same person appearing on screen look good. They did it great in the 90s with The Parent Trap. Why does it look so terrible in this? But another huge problem that everybody has been praising for God knows what reason is this movie's script. And one of the biggest issues with the script is that it contains so many characters and almost all of them are wasted. They brought back Michael Keaton to play Batman since this is an alternate universe, and it actually serves a purpose to the story. It wasn't done just for fan service. I would say it was only slightly done for fan service, but I appreciate what they were going for. And Michael Keaton is just great. He's great in almost everything he's in. And good on him, because he makes the most of this shit show of a script. But the problem is that he's given nothing to work with. His character is just absolutely wasted. I feel like he wasn't really given anything to do. He wasn't important to the story itself. Honestly, they could have gotten anybody to play Batman and it would have felt exactly the same. And also, since this is a different universe, Superman doesn't exist. So instead, Supergirl is in this universe. And she's played by a young actress named Sasha Calle. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that name. And I really liked her as Supergirl, but again, like Michael Keaton as Batman, she is given absolutely nothing to work with. In fact, she's barely in it, and the scenes that she is in are some of the better scenes in the whole movie. But easily the character that was the most pointless and the most wasted was General Zod, played by Michael Shannon. This is the first time we've seen Zod since the DCEU started in Man of Steel. He might have been in Justice League though, I don't know. I haven't seen Justice League, so correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I guess in a way Zod is supposed to be this movie's main antagonist, but at no point do you ever feel like he was the threat that he was in Man of Steel. His role in this story just seems so unfulfilling, and that is precisely what Michael Shannon himself said about coming back to this universe. And after watching the movie, I completely understand where he's coming from, because it's almost as if he wasn't even needed. And Barry himself is just a completely empty character too. The little interactions he has with the other version of himself are just so obnoxious and unfunny. In fact, this whole movie is pretty unfunny. And I know this movie wasn't funny because I saw it in a packed theater and almost nobody laughed at the jokes. But aside from Barry being unfunny and obnoxious, there's no character development. And I know a lot of people will refute that by saying, oh dude, he realized that he made a mistake and his mother was supposed to die. He was never meant to save her. And yes, I know that he does realize that, but at no point did I ever felt like he grew from it or learned from it. He was the exact same person by the end of it. Like, nothing changed within him. And to add insult to injury, The Flash is just boring. This movie is 2.5 hours long, and it really had no business being that long. There was at least 3 moments in the third act where I thought this movie was about to end, but it just kept going on. And I'm not kidding you, I checked my watch constantly throughout the third act. I could not wait for this thing to be over. And you would think with a movie that includes The Flash, Supergirl, Batman, that there would be incredible action sequences. But the action sequences are nothing to write home about, and they are so few and far between. And like I said, when they are there, they're boring. And all of it leads to one of the most laughably bad third acts that I have ever seen. Aside from this third act being so boring that I constantly checked my watch, it looks ugly, there's no stakes to it, and there were aspects of it that made me scratch my head. And I won't get into spoilers just in case you haven't seen this movie yet, even though it's been out for a while, but the third act also contains a flurry of completely pointless and just downright disrespectful cameos. If you've seen the movie, then obviously you know what I'm talking about, but really, can anyone tell me what the purpose of those cameos were? I don't have a problem with cameos or if a previous character is brought back as long as it serves a purpose. But these moments toward the end served absolutely no purpose other than nostalgia. And you know how audiences are these days. They just eat nostalgia up, and anything that makes them feel like a kid again is an automatic 10 out of 10. The only things about The Flash that I can honestly say I thought were good were Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle's performances. Michael Keaton was always great as Batman in Tim Burton's movies. So bringing him back was a nice touch. Like I said, if you bring back a character from the past, I'm all for it as long as it serves a purpose. And I don't know if Sasha Calle is going to continue playing Supergirl in James Gunn's future iterations in the DC universe, but I hope she does, because I really do like her. And the only other thing that I guess I could say I liked was one scene toward the end between both Barrys. One of them is just talking about how fate is set in stone and you can't change it no matter how much it hurts. And I thought that was a nice character moment, but that was basically the extent of any sort of development we got within Barry. Otherwise, there was none. So listen, let me just say, to end all of this, I completely understand that everybody is entitled to their opinion. People aren't going to love everything that you love, and people aren't going to hate everything that you hate. I completely understand that. Believe me, I do. But I truly cannot wrap my head around the praise that this movie is getting. If you liked it, good for you. I really wish that I did. I'm glad that you liked it. But I just don't understand why people liked this movie so much. Like, genuinely, I'm baffled. And I've been very open with my dislike towards this movie on other platforms like Twitter and TikTok, and it's not sitting well with people. In fact, it's not sitting well with people so much so that one person in particular told me that I need to do some self-reflection because I didn't like this movie. No, I'm not kidding. I didn't realize that people took The Flash that seriously. And if I could just finally conclude this with one thing, I'm going to end it with a recommendation. If you want to watch a movie that is a much better version of this story of The Flash, then watch the animated movie Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. I watched it a few days ago, and it's fantastic. It's a lot more entertaining, it's a lot more fun, and it's much shorter, and it does a better job of telling an emotional story and getting the point across. If you're interested, it's on HBO Max, so go check it out. I'm sorry, it's still HBO Max to me. And overall, I would give The Flash a 3 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of The Flash. If you guys saw this movie, let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it like a lot of people are, or did you think that it was terrible like me? If you guys like this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.